What's happened to the hundreds of billions of US dollars we've sent to Ukraine? No clue. Who organized those BLM riots 3 years ago? No one's gotten to the bottom of that. What exactly happened on 9/11? Well, it's still classified. How did Jeffrey Epstein make all that money? How did he die? How about JFK? And so endlessly on. Not only are the media not interested in any of this, they are actively hostile to anybody who is. In journalism, curiosity is the gravest crime.
Tucker Carlson has released the first episode of Tucker Carlson on Twitter. So, how is it?
Mr. Reagan.
All right, let me rate Tucker Carlson's first episode on Twitter in a few ways. 1, should you watch it? 2, should you join Twitter just to watch it? And 3, was the first episode any good? The answers to these questions are the following. Yes, yes, and meh. I'll explain all of it in one moment. First, of course, I have to sell you something. Every day, it seems like we're inching ever closer to the apocalypse. Considering the disastrous policies of the current administration, it's terrifying to think what might happen if we get another 4 years. It's possible that the entire food supply chain could break down. So it's my personal view that we all need at least 3 months worth of food stocked up. Now, if you don't have that, you can go to preparewithmrreagan.com and get a 3-month emergency food kit from My Patriot Supply. And right now, they're offering this at $200 off. So it is a very good time to buy. This kit gives you breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, and snacks, enough food for one person for 3 months. It provides over 2,000 calories a day for optimum strength and energy. And with this $200 off deal and free shipping, this might be a good time to stock up. And make sure you get 1 kit per person in your household so you don't run out. I was actually at one of these big box stores the other day and I spotted their emergency rations kit, and My Patriot Supply is a way better deal, so I feel very confident selling this product. With the world on the brink, give yourself that sense of security. Go to preparewithmrreagan.com right now and keep your family safe. That's preparewithmrreagan.com. All right. So the thing you're probably wondering about the most is, why did I go meh about the quality of the first episode? And I'll get to that in a second. First, I want to kind of explain why you should watch it and why you should sign up to Twitter just to watch it. Firstly, Tucker Carlson is a legend. I mean, look, I may not agree with every single thing that he always says all the time, but for the most part, I think we're on the same page. I think Tucker Carlson has the same intentions as I have. I think that he is very, very intelligent, has a lot more access to information than I have, and, he's a guy worth watching. If you watch Mr. Reagan, if you watch shows like this, Tucker Carlson is a guy worth watching. The problem, of course, is that you can't really just turn on the TV and watch Tucker anymore. You got to go on to Twitter to do it. I think you can just watch it without signing up for Twitter, but potentially in the future that might be limited. I don't know. If at some point you have to sign up to Twitter to watch Tucker Carlson, you should do it. And you should probably sign up to Twitter anyway, so you can comment under it and have the conversations with other people that need to be had in this world. And that's one sort of benefit of social media, is that you can comment below my videos and you can comment below Tucker Carlson's videos now. Like before, there was no conversation between people when Tucker Carlson put out a video. It was just you'd watch it and then you'd move on to the rest of your life. Now you can kind of throw in your 2 cents under the video on Twitter, and I think that's good. I think that's good for the world to be able to do that. And Tucker broaches some very controversial topics, some very important topics that I think people need to have conversations about. All right, now let's get to why I thought that episode 1 was a bit meh. There's a couple technical reasons, and those things will be fixed. I'm absolutely confident that these issues will be fixed. But they did kind of allow for some very, very vicious criticism on the left. I mean, I watched a couple of leftists critiquing Tucker's first episode on Twitter, and they were just like, "This is the worst thing I've ever seen. This is terrible. This is so amateur." And the problem is, I can't really disagree with them. I mean, I disagree with them that it's as bad as they're saying. Of course, they're exaggerating because they're degenerate leftists and they hate Tucker, and of course they're going to say that. But I can't disagree that the quality wasn't great. I mean, it's really difficult to justify because Tucker Carlson is very, very rich. So it doesn't make any sense that his first episode was kind of mediocre quality. But here's why I think it was mediocre quality. I think it was an intentional choice. I don't think it was done because of incompetence. I think that Tucker wanted to do a stripped down format much like Mr. Reagan. I think Tucker Carlson probably, I don't know if he's seen Mr. Reagan in particular, but he's seen shows like mine, and he said, this is the future. This is what we should be doing. We should just be talking to camera and being honest and expressing ourselves as authentically as we can and telling the truth. I think that's what he's thinking, and I think that's what he's doing. But there's no intro. There's not even an intro. Like, I have my little bumper at the very beginning, the little Mr. Reagan bumper, just to brand the show, just to tell you, okay, this is the show. The show is starting. It's a little bit of polish that goes a long way. It makes the show look a little bit more professional. Does he have a good camera? Yeah, he looks fine. He's clearly got a makeup artist because he's wearing makeup, very obviously, on screen. And that's something that, by the way, wearing makeup isn't actually a narcissism thing. I know people think that it might be, but it's really because of shine. Cameras, typically, they'll really blow out highlights if you're a little shiny. He should have a makeup artist. He does have a makeup artist. He does have a thing at the end of his show, a graphic music thing at the end of his show.
I hear people say the news is full of lies.
So it's branded there, so there's no real reason not to bring in that small sliver of professionalism at the beginning of the show to say, look, we're starting the show. This is the intro to the show. It could be a couple seconds like my bumper. It doesn't have to be long. So it was weird that it didn't have that. It just started with him talking.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. This morning it looks like somebody blew up the Kakhovka Dam in southern Ukraine.
But it really wasn't that fancy. There wasn't a lot of graphics. It was very streamlined. It was very minimalist. It was very much like my show. Frankly, it was almost identical to my show. And it didn't have to be. He chose to make the show like that. The biggest problem with Tucker's first episode, the thing that I think made it look a little shoddy and not so high quality, not so high end, was that the audio was bad.
The media lie, they do. But mostly they just ignore the stories that matter.
Not everybody will notice this. Obviously, I do this as a job, so this is something I listen for, something I will notice, obviously. Wherever he is, wherever he's shooting, there is an echo. And it didn't sound clean. What he needs is a mic like this, or something like this. This is the mic that almost everybody uses. You'll see this on like every podcast. I don't know why I don't use this one. I like this one. They're both pretty much the same. They're both really good mics. But I don't know why you wouldn't have a mic in the shot. In this format, this has become super, super common. People are used to it. This is part of, what we do. So I don't know why he wouldn't have like a high-end mic in the shot, something that made his voice very clean, very clear. To me, that would instantly elevate the show, because what he's saying would be crisp, clean, and clear, and you could understand him better. And for somebody like Tucker Carlson, whose ideas are so great, you want those ideas to be communicated as clearly and cleanly as possible. And so, like I said, this opened up a little bit of a window for criticism. A lot of leftists were just like, oh my God, he's such an amateur. Look, this stuff obviously will be fixed over time. I'm sure that the audio issues will be fixed. I'm sure that there will probably be some kind of graphic at the beginning, at some point along the line. But what really matters is Tucker's ideas, what Tucker's trying to communicate. And that was the other part of episode 1 that let me down a little bit. It seems that he decided very intentionally to go after topics that were a little bit extreme, right? He went after stuff that I don't think has the biggest audience in the world. Primarily, he talked about Ukraine and aliens from outer space. And the Ukraine thing, you might say, well, that's mainstream news. Except Tucker Carlson takes an extreme position on Ukraine. He really does not like Volodymyr Zelensky.
Ukraine, as you may have heard, is led by a man called Zelensky, sweaty and rat-like, a comedian turned oligarch, a persecutor of Christians, a friend of BlackRock.
He really does not like him. And a lot of you out there are probably saying, well, that's cool. I don't like Volodymyr Zelensky either. That's not typical, even among conservatives. Most people in America support Ukraine, support Zelensky, even if they think Zelensky's a little shady or something like that. They still think that, and I think rightly so, that Ukraine was the victim and that Russia was the aggressor. And most people think that Putin is not a great guy. And I agree with that. Putin is not a great guy. And so for Tucker to focus so strongly on that, which is something that he's been criticized for in the past, I don't know if that was the best topic. But I have a theory as to why he chose this topic in particular. One thing that Tucker did mention that I thought was actually really important and really interesting that I think that he could have focused more on was he said that we've spent, I don't remember how much, but like billions and billions and billions of dollars in Ukraine, and where has all that money gone? Has it really been used to fight the war? Probably not. A lot of it has probably been stolen or in some way siphoned off by criminal politicians, either American politicians or Ukrainian politicians. It's difficult to know, right? It's just sort of this black hole that we're sending money into and nobody knows what happens to it.
What's happened to the hundreds of billions of US dollars we've sent to Ukraine? No clue.
I wish that Tucker Carlson had maybe focused a little bit more on that just for my own selfish purposes, because I find that much more interesting than the other topics that he focused on. And he could have. I mean, he's Tucker Carlson. He could have investigated that a little bit and made this video about that specifically. I would have loved that video. I think the problem of political corruption in America is one of the most severe issues that America has ever dealt with ever. Probably the most severe. It is actually an existential crisis, but he didn't really talk too much about that. Maybe he'll get into it in another video. Then, of course, he switched the topic to aliens from outer space.
Yesterday, for example, a former Air Force officer who worked for years in military intelligence came forward as a whistleblower to reveal that the U.S. government has physical evidence of crashed non-human-made aircraft, as well as the bodies of the pilots who flew those aircraft. The Pentagon has spent decades studying these otherworldly remains in order to build more technologically advanced weapons systems. In other words, UFOs are actually real. In a normal country, this news would qualify as a bombshell, the story of the millennium. But in our country, it doesn't. The Washington Post had that story, but decided not to run it.
Here's why I think he chose to talk about Zelensky and aliens. These are things that Tucker is passionate about and things that maybe he felt he couldn't express himself in as extreme a way as he wanted to on Fox News. So by choosing those two topics to discuss on this show, it was an indication to the audience, look, I am unbound. I will be able to say anything I want on this show. I will be able to pick any topics I want. These are maybe two of the more extreme positions that I have, or two of the things that people maybe might want to criticize me for the most. They're what I'm going to start with, right? So he's sending a message to people. I'm going to say whatever it is I want to say on this show.
As of today, we've come to Twitter, which we hope will be the shortwave radio under the blankets. We're told there are no gatekeepers here. If that turns out to be false, we'll leave. But in the meantime, we are grateful to be here. We'll be back with much more very soon.
I'm going to focus on what I think's the most interesting, what I think's the most important, and what I think I want to talk about and what I should be talking about. I think it's a great message for him to send. But for me, what I didn't like about it was that there's really two reasons why we like Tucker so much, okay? Other than his, dashing good looks. One, he's willing to talk about the things other people won't. Okay, great. That's what we're talking about here with the first episode of the show. But the other thing, which I think is maybe certainly as important, if not more important, is that he's a straight shooter on the issues everyone's talking about. So it's not like some issues nobody's allowed to talk about, but Tucker will tackle that issue. That's great. Other issues, everybody's talking about them, but everybody's getting them a little bit wrong. And certainly you could make the argument that that's what he did with the Volodymyr Zelensky topic, with the Ukraine topic. Everybody's talking about Ukraine. But I think we even more so want to hear about something like January 6th. We want to hear more so about something like Durham. We want more so to hear about the trans issue, right? Domestic political issues are really, I think, were always Tucker's bread and butter, because what they wouldn't say in the mainstream media, they would say on Tucker. And there were some other people that would talk about it as well on Fox, like Jesse Waters, like Greg Gutfeld. But Tucker was always better than everybody else, right? He had more charm, and he expressed himself with more clarity and more intelligence than anybody else. He was better than everybody else. I felt that he was. Greg did it very intelligently and with humor, but he was a little bit different. Tucker also was very funny, though. I mean, Tucker had just a great way of broaching a myriad of issues. And so for him just to focus on the stuff that was, in my opinion, the more extreme stuff, yes, it effectively communicates the idea that he's going to be able to talk about whatever he wants on the show, but he is missing that aspect that is, that I think is his bread and butter. Now, do I think that will change over time? Yes, absolutely I do, which is why I'm recommending 100% that everybody watch his show. This was only a 10-minute show. It was a very short show. But I think as the show goes forward, I think he will talk about a myriad of issues. I think he will talk about all the stuff that's important to all of us. So if you're turned off by the idea that the only things that he really talked about in any depth were Volodymyr Zelensky and how he thinks that he's kind of scummy, and aliens from outer space crash landing here in America, to me, those are not the most interesting subjects. Like, if I saw that, that's the only thing that I knew about Tucker Carlson, I probably wouldn't watch another episode. But it looks like at this point, Tucker's up to 100 million views. Now, views on Twitter are not the same as views on YouTube. I don't know how many people have actually played the video and watched the video with sound and everything like that. They don't have that number on here. But in terms of engagement, it has 761,000 likes, 224,000 retweets, and 69.5 thousand comments. So that's a lot of comments. It's a lot of comments. It's a lot of likes. That is a lot of retweets. And I'm assuming that is a lot of people watching Tucker Carlson here. So look, obviously a very successful first episode, my critiques notwithstanding. And you know what? Let's read some of the comments here. Carpe Donctum, so glad to see you back, brother. Graham Allen, let's go. Kim.com has written here a quote from the people over at Fox News. He's just written, no! Melissa Tate noted that there's been $100 billion spent in Ukraine, but our veterans are being treated like trash. Carol Roth wrote, this is a very interesting moment for Tucker Carlson and Elon Musk and everybody in the media. Excited to watch it unfold. Carrie Lake wrote, Tucker torches the uniparty liars and warmongers. Welcome back, Tucker. Libs of TikTok just posted 3 flame emojis. And Adam Robinson replied, I feel like a drug addict who just got his first hit of truth in a month. So people obviously loved this episode. And, any mild criticism from me is not going to stop the juggernaut that is Tucker Carlson. I think that he is going to revolutionize what Twitter is and how people get the news. How people get the news really has already been revolutionized with YouTube, but even more so, I think people are going to join Twitter just to watch videos like this. I think this will be a big hit. I hope it will be. I had planned on posting my episodes to Twitter. I don't know why that didn't continue. There were people that were supposed to post my videos to Twitter, and they didn't do it. So I'm going to have to get on that. My videos need to be posted to Twitter as well. Hopefully we can get an audience built on Twitter. I think that what's going to really do it for Twitter, what's really going to flip Twitter from a channel that people go on really just to comment with these little quick ideas to something that people go on to actually watch media like Tucker Carlson, will be monetization. Once they monetize the videos, like if I can post a video to Twitter and however many people watch it and comment on it, whatever. If I can get paid for that in the same way that YouTube pays me, I'll have a much bigger incentive to post on there. Now, my following is relatively small on Twitter, but I'm hoping to build it. I'm constantly trying to build my audience on Twitter. It's not very successful. I don't know why I'm so bad at building an audience on Twitter. I don't know. I used to think that it was the algorithm and Twitter censorship and stuff like that, and maybe it still is. I don't know. Elon Musk seems to be constantly digging out new forms of censorship on Twitter that he didn't know existed before. So I don't know if I'm still blacklisted in some way. I'm not really sure, but I haven't been growing in really a significant way at all on Twitter since Elon Musk bought the company. There was a quick spurt of growth, and then it just leveled off, and I haven't seen much growth at all. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know how to fix that, or if I can even be successful posting videos on Twitter. But until we figure that out, I'm going to still have to keep posting on YouTube all the time. So I'm going to be on YouTube for the foreseeable future, ladies and gentlemen. I do hope that changes eventually, but for now, yep, YouTube is home. To sum up, I do want to say this. Definitely watch Tucker's show. I think it's going to be a big deal. I think it's going to blow up. I think it's going to be a significant thing. 1. 2, yeah, join Twitter. I think it's a good platform. 3, not the best episode, but I think it will only get better from here. I'm looking forward to watching Tucker's show every time a new one drops. I wasn't expecting this one. I don't know how consistently this is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be a daily thing or a weekly thing or what's going to happen, but I'm looking forward to seeing the next episode. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for me. And remember, it's not that our liberal friends are ignorant. It's just that they know so much that is not so. Good night.
Someone very profoundly once said, many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism. Fascism is private ownership, but total government control and regulation. Well, isn't this the liberal philosophy? The conservative, so-called, is the one that says, less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket. Let me have more control of my own destiny.